Hello everyone, welcome to T's World of Beautiful Ideas. You are tuned into Money Wednesday, okay? Yes, we are still on our series of luxury expenses that the society has normalized. And a luxury expense is a discretionary purchase that you do not necessarily need for survival or for your basic living, okay? Always remember that description of what a luxury expense is. Today's topic or luxury expense is drinking every weekend as a social default, okay? Yes. So when I was thinking about this topic, what actually came to mind was some of the reasons why people actually drink every weekend as a social default, right? Some even take it, to extents of drinking even during the week after work, and it extends over to the weekends, all right? So like for them, weekends are a given, but weekdays are, occasional. So I'm just going to go through, those kind of reasons. One of them could be that, they think that they have a lot of money just lying around. They do not know what to do with it, or they have not committed it to, anything, okay? And that could be a result of lack of budgeting and planning your finances, or for your finances, or for your salary, for your income each and every month, right? As a result, you find that you have somewhat catered for your basic needs. For example, you've paid your rent, you've bought food, you have, put transport money aside. However, to you, those are the major things that you feel needed, money from your income. And then after that, all the other money that remains, you don't know what to do with it. And then you end up feeling that, okay, it can actually be used for drinking every weekend. What can actually also be added to the first one is the fact that then if they have that money lying around and they don't know what to do with it, or it's not committed to anything, they don't have a budget, then some people have boredom as a reason for them to buy alcohol and drink every weekend or even during the weekdays, okay? The second reason why people drink, every weekend as a social default could be that they lack financial literacy. They do not know how to use money, especially those that actually use the money for their transport, for drinking over the weekend, for a social gathering, and towards the end of the month they do not have money for transport and are asking around or borrowing or taking from the loan shacks, right? Those are lacking financial discipline and also financial literacy. It can also be coined to the lack of planning or budgeting for your income, right? So the reasons are kind of interconnected in some way. So you will need to just look into which reason leans so much towards you and your decision of actually drinking every weekend as a social default. And, look at whether you can correct that. If it's correctable, put correcting measures in place and take it from there, okay? And then the third reason why people would drink every weekend as a social default could be that they actually have emotional challenges, right? Like they have challenges in life that are, posing so much pressure on them emotionally, psychologically, mentally, and also financially. And as a result of not wanting to confront the issues that they're faced with or the challenges that they're faced with, they opt for what we call an emotional buy. So you're buying something in the place of, dealing with your emotions. So in a nutshell, all these reasons can be summed up with, lack of discipline, lack of planning or lack of budgeting, lack of knowledge, right? So majority of the time when people do not have the knowledge of what they can do with money, how they can use money where and what they can use money on, which would help them build wealth for themselves, for the next generation, and for their future selves, they tend to, take the current option of the life that's being presented to them, right? Because now because they do not have knowledge of financial literacy, they cannot even project into their furthest future to say, okay, when I retire, what am I going to use? What is going to take care of me? Who's going to take care of me? And how am I planning for that, right? So when you go out every weekend to drink as a social default, make sure that you have considered all of these things. Currently, your current needs, tomorrow, your tomorrow's needs, and then the furthest future's needs. So that way, you know that your drinking every weekend is not crippling any of your today, tomorrow, or your furthest future plans. I will always advocate for wealth creation. I will always advocate for financial literacy. I will always advocate for financial discipline, and I will always advocate for people to gain knowledge so that they make informed decisions as far as finances are concerned. It is so sad to see somebody who was working a very beautiful job, getting paid good money, and subjected themselves to drinking every weekend as a social default, and in the furthest future, they do not have anything to show for themselves or to live on, simply because they did not have the knowledge of how to use their money, where and what to put their money into, to prepare and to plan for their furthest future. Okay, remember, building wealth is not just for today, it is for tomorrow, it is also for the furthest future. Okay, and to my people, to my YOLO people, okay, you only live once category of people, please, you only live once, yes, but you don't know when you're going to decide to go and be with the Lord, okay? And, we should learn now and practice now to build for now, for tomorrow, and for the furthest future. If you leave those monies around, your family will use it. If you don't have family, your spouse will use it. If you don't have a spouse, the government will use it, okay? Because that money would be somewhere, okay? Somebody will use the money. All right. So we should not find ourselves, not building wealth for our furthest future just because we have that, approach of you only live once. Yes, you only live once, but your furthest future has to have the money that you worked for and put aside for you to use in future, okay? Yes, the aim of that approach is simply to break that cycle of requiring our children or other people or the government to take care of us when we are older, okay? Especially when we, go on pensions, and the pension money is not a lot, or it's a lot, but the way it's coming to you, it's a weapon formed against you. It wants you to have heart attack and, just collapse and go and be with the Lord. So if you have actually build other streams of income or other investments, then you know that those investments will take care of you even when you are older. If you have children, you will have, enough to even help your children, start up their lives so that they don't start on zero like we did, okay? Yes, I hope this helps somebody. And if it doesn't, of course, I'm gonna find something for me from this video, okay? Yes, thank you so much for tuning in. This is T's World of Beautiful Ideas, Luxury Expenses That the Society Has Normalized series. And today we were talking about drinking every weekend as a social default, okay? How that impede you from, building wealth for yourself, for the future, and for the future generation, the next generation, and the next generation. Okay, let us look into it and make necessary changes where we can and build wealth. Thank you for tuning in. Let us meet in the next upload, and bye for now.